Thank you very much, Stefan, and good morning, everyone. I've been delighted to be part of your discussions this morning and learned a lot by it. So thank you very much. And I do want to say to you and to all the colleagues in the room how proud I am, enormously proud, to have been reappointed the Rapporteur on Corporate Social Responsibility in the Parliament. The formal process of starting my report is actually going to be endorsed at the European Parliament's plenary session in May. But seeing that you were meeting here today, I got together with Stefan and said it was just too good an opportunity both to take part in and to listen to your discussions, but also to use this opportunity to directly invite you to work with me and to help me over the next few months, not just to get the wording of the political agreement in Parliament right, yes, that's part of the job, but also to use the process of bringing this communication out into the public domain to be a shop window for corporate social responsibility across Europe, why CSR is important, and to communicate to that wider public what we are trying to achieve. Now, I want to pay tribute to CSR Europe to thank you for all the advice and support that you've been to me in the past, as well as anticipating that help now and in the future. Today, I'd like to specifically appeal to the member companies of CSR Europe and to your national networks to make submissions to me in response to the communication and to help organise ways in which I can further consult and dialogue with companies and other stakeholders on how we move forward in response. By adopting the title Enterprise 2020, as you did, to focus your own efforts in CSR Europe, in advance of President Barroso and the European Union adopting the Europe 2020 strategy, I have to concede on behalf of the EU institutions that you got there first. Please don't accuse us of intellectual property theft. But I am delighted, seriously delighted, that your own strategy is explicitly supported in the communication. And I hope this is the best signal of Europe's own commitment to the multi-stakeholder approach, that we're not trying to preach to you about how to do CSR, but as public authorities ourselves, working as partners with you and other stakeholders to develop the ideas together. And I will, having taken part in the discussions this morning, say a few words specifically, as you invite me to, on social entrepreneurship and social innovation. I'm delighted that part of the package which the CSR communication brought forward included the Social Business Initiative, and I pay tribute to the personal commitment of Commissioner Tajani in this respect. There's also been some discussion about the Commission's definition of CSR in the communication, less about what it is than what it isn't. But given today's conference, the idea that CSR is, and I quote, the responsibility of enterprises for their impacts on society should be a very welcome one indeed. Why not put society as our main focus? And after all, as the author Edward Abbey once wrote, society is like a stew. If you don't stir it up every once in a while, then a layer of scum rises to the top. So, let's stir up society a bit, but let's not stir up ourselves. I've been in too many discussions about the definition of CSR in my life at the expense of discussions about its application. And I do appeal to you to accept the definition put forward by the European Commission and to focus instead on a discussion with us on how the EU can best support the practical application of CSR in your and in other companies. And I do agree with those of you this morning who said that companies must be part of this crucial concept of the social economy. In this week, which is Cooperatives Week, that includes you identifying, dialoguing and partnering with mutuals and other social businesses as key stakeholders in your own CSR strategies. And in a social market economy, in the words of the European Treaty, it means a renewed call on your businesses to innovate socially useful products and services, as well as socially equitable methods of production and of delivery. That was the call from Jacques Delors back in 1996, when the precursor organisation to CSR Europe was originally set up. And today I am absolutely delighted to learn of your collaborative projects in Enterprise 2020 on the business contribution to active ageing with GDF Suez and Intel, on health literacy of employees with Edenred, MSD, Microsoft and Britain's business in the community, and on financial capability led by City Foundation. I congratulate all of the companies and all of the stakeholders involved in these projects. When the German government says that life expectancy is rising by 3 months every year, and in my own country, the United Kingdom, 9 out of 10 defined benefit pension schemes are now closed to new entrants. When half of all deaths in Europe are from so-called lifestyle, in reality preventable diseases, when according to the European Anti-Poverty Network, more than 1 in 5 Europeans is at risk of social exclusion, the challenges of society have changed from the time of Delors' call, but they are more, not less urgent. And listening to that last debate, and coming from a country that I have to apologise spends a little too much time talking about red lines, I quite like the discussion we had this morning about red threads. But I rather agree with the colleague over here who said that our task is to ensure that those red threads are woven into the full suit of clothes. In terms of my own work, in the context of the communication, I hope that we can do more to show that the social impact of business is as real and as concrete as environmental and other impacts. A start has been made with the European Commission's guidelines on social procurement, but these have not been universally welcomed or even understood, and I believe that we can do better. I'm interested to learn more about your own project on measuring community footprint, as well as listening to this afternoon's workshop on sustainable business performance. The work of the Business Social Compliance Initiative to promote CSR in now 17,000 production facilities demonstrates the power of the supply chain to take forward CSR. But when we have concentrated on global sourcing in so much of the debate, perhaps now is the time to renew focus on how companies can promote higher social standards through sourcing policies with SMEs within our own European borders too. Let's call it social private procurement. And I think as well that there will always be new and emerging societal challenges that we need to address and that will be part of corporate social responsibility. And this morning I want to suggest 3 more. First, as governments throughout Europe increasingly transfer responsibilities for social care from public to private providers, how could we ensure that these private companies have fair competition but don't compromise standards of care to the most vulnerable people in our society? Like the cases of the people with Alzheimer's disease, literally beaten by staff who were supposed to be caring for them and exposed by the BBC television programme Panorama. Second, in the week that 20% voted for the far right in France, what can companies do to protect your black and minority ethnic employees from the rise of racism and xenophobia which is sweeping our continent? And how far is it the responsibility of the company to root out the perpetrators if they are found within your own workforce? And third, with now 24 million unemployed in Europe, all of us have to do more to say that CSR, respect for decent environmental and social standards, is not an additional burden on business at this time of economic crisis. Instead, it is a route to the recovery and an essential component to guarantee that the economic recovery we are pursuing is one that will be genuinely sustainable. I want to finish by saying that I love that concept of the social entrepreneur. For me, it sums up what we've always said in the CSR debate, that it is possible both to innovate, to be competitive, and to make profits, but at the one and the same time to promote and to respect social standards. Jeff Morgan this morning said it may be impossible to do otherwise. So whatever the size of your company, whatever your role within it, whichever market in which you're working, I hope and believe that I am looking at an audience of social entrepreneurs. And by being here, I'm confident that you are too. Thank you very much.